Mirchi FM is #1 in Singapore.
और किसके सुनिए यार, हमारा एक सच्चा साथी है मिर्ची एफएम lymphatic.
I love Mirchi FM. It's so hot.
देखे में लाल लाल, खाए में हाय हाय. Tangi tauwa में Mirchi FM is hot.
Here at Rugby Town, Singatoka, love listening to Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM is #1 in Suva. It's hot.
हम वहीं के लिए लंबासा में रहता है, तो क्या बताइए हम मिर्ची एफएम सुनता है.
Mirchi FM, बहुत जुलूम जुलूम.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
In this bulletin, late President of the Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Tuikilakila Wangairatu, now laid to rest. U.S. national remanded over cocaine bust at airport. And government to refund more than $712,000 to those who have lost money to microfinance companies. Hello and welcome to FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. Hundreds turned up for the funeral of the late Reverend Tuikilakila Wangairatu at Centenary Church in Suva today. Mourners came from around the world to pay their last respects to the man who dedicated 42 years of his life to the Methodist Church. Edwin Nand reports.
Fijians from all walks of life paid tribute to Reverend Tuikilakila Wangairatu, who for 6 short months served as the president of the Methodist Church.
My dad gave me away in marriage 2 weeks ago. He was so happy to be able to complete the last duty of any father.
Church ministers came from Tonga, New Zealand, Australia, and even as far away as the United States, all sharing the late Reverend's contributions and tales of a man who always put the church first. Reverend Tuikilakila served the church for 42 years in various capacities and obtained an honorary doctorate in theology. He planned a major overhaul of the church to appeal to young followers and stay relevant in a modern Fiji, allowing musical instruments, separating the church from its long-held links to Itoke traditional leadership, and recognizing the role and equality of women in the church.
My father's one great love was his service to God. He loved his work. Indeed, it wasn't work at all for him. It was service with a big smile.
The Methodist Church is going to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of Independence this year without this influential character. But be reminded, he has left behind a legacy.
Those who spoke about his life spoke of a man who believed in change and had a vision for the church to right the wrongs and bring the word of God to the masses. One of his first directives as president was to reduce yangona and cigarette consumption by church ministers and the congregation.
While this is one of the changes, they may not sit well with some of our fellow ministers and elders and members. But Reverend Wangairatu is adamant that the reform was long overdue. He was emphasizing on health-related issues.
Ratu's passing has brought the nation and so many people together. Thank you to all the organizers of Ratu's farewell. Thank you to all the beautiful children that line the streets of Suva today.
The late Reverend's contribution to the Methodist Church was so profound, he has been given a special burial site next to Baker Hall in Davoilevu. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
The 23-year-old American arrested after 20 kilograms of cocaine was allegedly found in his luggage has been remanded in custody. Alec Aiden appeared in court today and will remain in custody until his reappearance on March 7th. Aiden arrived in the country from Australia last Tuesday and was travelling on a US passport. During a search at Nosori Airport, about 20 kilograms of cocaine was found in his baggage. At that time, Aiden allegedly fled the scene and managed to elude authorities for a week. He was spotted and apprehended in Nandi on Tuesday. The case has been transferred to the High Court. Government has announced the reimbursement of more than $700,000 to individuals who lost money to a number of local microfinancing companies. Attorney General Ayaan Syed Qayyum says more than 9,000 people have fallen victims to alleged unscrupulous dealings by those who are running the companies. Cabinet has ruled that individuals who lost money to the microfinancing companies are to be reimbursed by April of this year. The issue has prompted the government to draft new laws to prevent recurrence of such incidents in the future. The Ministry of Education has issued a stern warning to all heads of schools to immediately implement the teaching of vernacular classes. This follows investigations carried out by FBC News, which revealed that a number of schools were not following the new primary school policy of teaching conversational Itoke and Fiji Hindi languages, as stipulated in Fiji's new constitution. But as Christopher Chand reports, the Arya Pratinidhi Sabha, which manages a number of schools around the country, is now calling on the ministry to provide specialist language teachers to be able to carry out the strict directive.
The issue of vernacular classes has come to light when FBC News first revealed on Monday that some primary schools are not teaching Itoke and Fiji Hindi, despite it being compulsory under the Fijian constitution. When FBC News first told the Education Permanent Secretary about this, he dismissed the information as lies.
That is complete lie. All teaching starts in Venkala in class 1 or year 1. So someone has given you a completely wrong and nonsense advice. You must have gone to school and you should have known that in the Lawa, that's why we start teaching in Venkala.
But Dr. Brijlal has since changed his tone and is now threatening primary school head teachers with disciplinary action, that they will be taken to task if they are not adhering to these policies. Policies which FBC News first brought to his attention. Although Dr. Lal could not be reached for an interview today, he now has to deal with another issue, again brought to attention by FBC News.
The problem is that we are not teaching Hindi to Fijians as yet. Reason being is that what we have found is that not all staff in the school are competent with the language, basic language competency. Although they are Indian or Itoke, but they don't have the fundamentals of the language, and because they may have been in non-language schools, therefore they don't have the capacity to teach. And that's one of the hindrance we have.
For the Education Ministry, the answer lies in posting teachers along ethnic lines to assist with language classes.
But even that has not resolved the issue of flowing arrangement of teaching vernacular in the schools.
Kamlesh Arya insists that to make this compulsory measure effective, the ministry needs specialist teachers.
My appeal would be is that if ministry and the government is really sincere about this compulsory teaching aspect, they must relook at the teacher arrangement, because schools can only do that, existing teachers can only do within the limits they have.
The question tonight at Education House would be a complex one. What is really needed to make this policy of knowing each other's language a success? Whatever the answer, it's obvious the solution lies with the Education Ministry to ensure that the spirit of the Constitution is followed by all primary schools in Fiji to achieve the Bainimarama government's intention of achieving through language a new level of understanding and nation building never experienced in our country before. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
Still to come on FBC News, Western Division to soon become filariasis free.
Gonga elambasa Mbula FM number 2 na sere.
Ando talita kana borong na Mbula FM number 2 na sere su.
Au wait to garaki au reba tu ni stima au ndo talita kana borong na Mbula.
Bola bina Fiji Mbula FM number 2 singa toka.
Bola bina era roga Mbula FM number 2 tikonga.
Mbula FM number 2 na sere.
Welcome back, here with FBC News. The Western Division is on the verge of eliminating lymphatic filariasis. The Health Ministry says a survey will be conducted soon, and if the rate is very low, then Western Division will be declared free of the disease. Sharon Lata reports.
According to the Health Ministry, it is quite difficult to identify people who are suffering from lymphatic filariasis. National Advisor NCD's Dr. Mike Kama says many people who have this disease do not show symptoms. He says they are glad there's been a reduction in the Western Division and the fight against the disease continues.
It's still transmitting within our population. We need to get rid of it. The ministry has been on to, mass drug administration, these lymphatic filariasis tablets that people have been taking for the past 12 years or so.
Officials will soon begin a one-month survey in West targeting Class 1 and Class 2 students of 77 primary schools in the Western Division. Dr. Mike Kama says lymphatic filariasis not only affects a person's health, but it also affects the economy as well.
Thing is that, they become embarrassed, they stay at home, they almost become, they're not socioeconomically viable at most times because they're too embarrassed to move around the society in the communities.
In 2007, the ministry carried out a similar survey and found the numbers had dropped by 9.2% compared to 2002. However, the Central and Eastern divisions are still ranked as high risk.
We did the survey for the whole of Fiji. The rates differ in the different divisions. It's very high in the Eastern Division, in the Central Division. It's about it's over 10%. It's over 12% in the Eastern and the Central Division. But in the West, it's less than 1%. And that's why we are doing these transmission assessment surveys in the West, because of its very low rate.
People get lymphatic filariasis from the bite of an infected mosquito, and it affects over 120 million people in the world. Sharin Lata, FBC News.
People in the north will now be better protected from tuberculosis with the opening of the refurbished TB diagnostic laboratory in Savu. As Eleanor Turangaiviu reports, the new look lab has facilities to diagnose more TB cases and at an earlier stage.
The Health Ministry believes there are a lot of unreported cases of tuberculosis in the north due to the lack of access to TB care services.
20-25% of our cases comes from the north, but this is a number that probably is not well documented as such, in the sense that most of our cases before they were seen in the Central Division in Tamavua, never it's documented as a case from there.
Dr. Sekiusa Mainawalala says the upgraded facilities will enable them to identify new cases.
We'll be able to see that we're going to be discovering more cases, and in future this may appear such that there are a lot more TB cases here in the north, but it's just because there's a lot of cases that are undiagnosed and they lately present to the hospital.
TB patients in Vonolevu come to Tamavua for the first stage treatment and later to the Lambasa hospital for checkups. Facilities are now available closer to home.
For the last 60 years, 60 to 70 years, this hospital, and there was no TB operational things or anything to look after the patient. I am very glad that the FBC has come here, brought this to the attention of the people of Fiji, that we got a TB unit set up in the Savu Hospital.
Refurbishment was funded by the Korean International Cooperation Agency, or KOICA, and is part of the ministry's efforts to provide better TB care services to significantly reduce the number of TB cases by the end of the year. Eleanor Turangaiviu, FBC News.
The delay in the expansion of the 4-lane road from Nasoso to Wailoa in Nadi has been explained. The Fiji Roads Authority says the initial contractors didn't deliver and they had to bring in another company. Akusita Tale has the story.
The road upgrade was originally a design-build contract with a Malaysian contractor, but they failed to deliver. This means motorists and transport will have to wait a little longer.
What had to happen then was that MWH, the FRA's consultant, has had to start from scratch essentially and design that piece of road. Now, in fact, it's not MWH, it's been sublet to Opus Consultants from New Zealand. Now they have nearly finished the design for that piece of road.
FBC News has spoken with the Nadi Town Council on its beautification plans, but the council is facing difficulties in the allocation of land for the project. The FRA is now advising the council to work with them.
We would think it probably best to leave the landscaping until the project was complete. We've got some landscaping to do in conjunction with the project itself, and I think it would probably be a better result for everybody if we and the special administrator work together and combine our resources, if you like.
The authority says there's only a specific area that will be upgraded to a 4-lane and not the entire road from the Nadi Airport to Denarau. This is causing much confusion.
The 4-laning runs from the airport at Nasoso Junction, and it runs all the way through to Wailoa Road. At that point, from there to Nandi Town, Queen's Road is 2-lane. It will be improved, but it'll still be just 2-lane.
Engineers have a preliminary plan for the road, but work will not begin until a final design is done. The Roads Authority is expected to spend around $65 million for the upgrade. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
The new University of Fiji's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Richard Cole, plans to ensure that quality programs are offered in support of the government's move to invest in areas where skills are needed. Akusita Tale reports.
The university has been established to support the needs of families who can't afford higher education. With the recent increase in fees, it still believes this came at a right time.
You end up either compromising the quality of your facilities or your offerings, or you get yourself into a position where after a few years of not increasing fees by a modest amount, you end up having to go for a big fees increase, and that's very unpalatable to students and families struggling.
Professor Cole is now calling on all institutions to work together to improve Fiji's academic performances.
All together working to try and help the government achieve its aims of providing higher education for a greater cohort of the Fiji populace. And I think how that needs to happen is that people like us and Fulton College and the other universities need to work together collaboratively rather than sort of trying to compete or poach students with each other.
Professor Cole says he wants to see Uni Fiji grow in a suitable manner despite various institutions increasing its facilities and campuses around the region.
We established a presence in Suva, initially with law. We've recently been promoting education programs, which is one of the government's priorities, and we've seen very pleasing growth in that area. And because of that growth, we are then in a position to invest in infrastructure, and then you start to build that momentum.
He adds the university must maintain its finances so quality programs are offered and stick to affordable, innovative, flexible education, which is the core basis to its establishment 10 years ago. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Sports now. Here's Jamie with the latest.
Good evening. In sports tonight, the Vodafone Fiji 7 side goes back to basics, and Fiji Mbati World Cup captain back on home turf. Details after the break.
Today FM is #1 here in Singapore.
We like Today FM in Lambasa. It rocks!
My favorite station in Nandi is Today FM.
Listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks in Subah.
Loto kasi they love today's kid music.
I love Today FM because they play all my songs.
We love Today FM at Vuniva Lambasa. Yeah, it rocks!
I love Today FM because it rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back to FBC Sports. The Vodafone Fiji Sevens team today wrapped up their first week of camp in Rakiraki. Coach Ben Ryan and his boys have gone back to getting the basics right. They're looking to redeem the IRB World Series campaign in Tokyo and Hong Kong next month. Sale Ndaudakalaka has more.
The Vodafone Fiji Sevens team has been relentless in their IRB Series campaign, with a few players copying some big shots during training.
Real basic stuff, so we're doing quite a lot of work on tackle technique, make sure we keep our tackles low, and our completion rates are excellent, but I think we can work harder on our technique, and then everything generally to improve upon. So it's been a good basic camp.
The new faces in the 21-member squad have a long way to go if they want to place in the final 12-member team, and Ryan expects them to step up to the mark.
It's hard when they come in for the first time because the standard's pretty, there's a big difference really in the fitness, and the other guys know the expectations, so I'm having to pick up all the technical skills with them, but they're quick learners, they've thrown themselves into it, so it's been good, and I'm sure I'll probably give them another opportunity next week in camp.
The team broke camp this afternoon after a rigorous week of training in the hot western sun. Chalendo Dakadak, FBC Sports.
The countdown to the 2013 Fiji Sports Awards has begun with the arrival of guest speaker and NRL legend Petero Thibonideba and his father. It's been around 15 years since the two were last seen together in the country. With Petero Jr. invited as the night's guest speaker and a nominee for Sportsman of the Year, there's a lot for the sporting fraternity to look forward to tomorrow. Elena McDonald reports.
Amazing experience. It's been an awesome ride.
This is the type of speech you can expect if you're attending the Fiji Sports Awards. And for this renowned rugby league legend, falling short of inspiring sports stories won't be a problem.
For me, I'm just proud to be there to represent the Bati. But look, you know, it's fantastic that, you know, great recognition for the achievements of the team to have those 3 nominations. But we'll wait and see.
A top 4 finish at the last World Cup makes Rugby League a strong contender for the Coach, Team and Sportsman of the Year awards.
From experience, you know, almost over 20 years of playing in the National Rugby League. You know, I've been fortunate enough to play with you know, some of the world's best players in terms of rugby league. Recognise, you know, their leadership styles, and you know, I guess I can, you know, talk firsthand of what those experiences were about.
The best of the best have been chosen from each sport, with 11 awards up for grabs. Whoever wins the top spots will be known at the end of the drum roll tomorrow night. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
Fijian swimmer Matelita Mbondromo has received the official International Olympic Committee certificate to be Fiji's ambassador to the Youth Olympic Games in China this August. Athletes Commission head Carl Probert today made the official presentation, where Mbondromo will travel with Team Fiji to provide peer support to all athletes competing.
What we're going to do is promote the culture and education program, which Carl just mentioned, and basically to help the athletes that are coming in Team Fiji to get the most out of the experience of what it feels like to be in the youth Olympics. So yeah.
That is your sports for tonight. It's back to Amrita now with business.
The founders of Crab Company Fiji have proposed that the government seriously consider setting up a capital investment agency and a junior stock exchange. As Mika Longo reports, the company plans to generate discussion on the suggestions with key stakeholders.
And since we do have Wilco Liberates and Colin Shirley founded the company over a cup of tea with a firm belief that Fiji has what it takes to forge ahead with their vision.
From that idea, when I heard that yes, you can farm these crabs, you can breed them from the eggs, I said, well, if they can do that in Asia, then in Fiji with all the mangroves, pristine mangroves, which are very clean areas, and that are not valued. Mangroves not highly valued. We're still cutting them down.
Wilco Liberate says Fiji has a lot of business potential and Fijians need assistance to get their business ideas off the ground.
In Fiji we lack that. We lack a capital investment fund, a venture capital fund.
Crabs Fiji rents space at the University of the South Pacific for its hatchery, where it develops larvae of the local mud crabs using natural sea resources mixed with modern technology. After spending time in these tanks for about 11 to 12 days, the larvae is now then transferred to these larvae tanks, where they are looked after for 2 weeks under strict conditions. Here, they are fed with planktons and artificial food. When the larvae develop into crablets, they are moved to these tanks, and when they become adults, some of them are put into these tanks for reproduction. The company also plans to export crabs to China and is floating the idea of a junior stock exchange, where small companies can raise some capital to develop and finance their business.
There are people here that may not have 100,000 to invest, but they may have a few thousand to invest. And they say, I would like to support it, I would like to support it. You can do that with a small stock exchange.
All eggs produced here are all from local mud crabs, and there are plans by the company to have its own custom-built facility, big enough to have its own hatchery, and also to meet future demands, and plans to contract out mud crab farming to coastal communities under a buyback scheme. Mikalonga, FBC News.
Time for weather and Jen's here to brighten up our evening.
Oh, thanks, Amrita. I'll try not to disappoint, but I can't promise anything. Now, I'm quite perplexed at the moment because I know for sure that Suva didn't have any thunderstorms today. This I gauged while hanging out the laundry on my day off. Yet, that's what the report says, so we'll go along with it. Mostly sunny conditions in the morning and rain in the afternoon. Who knows? We might just get the showers and thunderstorms later tonight. Was it just me, or did you also feel like you were sitting in a hot tub today? I know some of us had at least 5 showers and were hoping for a tub of ice instead. The highest temperature is 34 degrees, while the lowest is 31. Oh, over here. Expect showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. The west will enjoy fine conditions in the morning, while it's highly likely that Suva, Savusavu and Lambasa will experience brief showers. And you'll probably think I'm obsessed with the place, but here's another photo of Monasavu. I mean, really, how many of us have even been to Monasavu? And if you want, you can also send me some pictures and show the rest of the country what a great photographer you are.
Thank you, Genevieve. Our main stories again. Late President of the Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Tuikilakila Wangairatu, laid to rest. US national remanded over cocaine bust at airport. And government refund more than $712,000 to those who have lost money to microfinance companies. Onto the poll question. This week we ask, is there a need to review bank and finance sector fees and charges? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email, citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj, or share it with us via our Facebook page, FBC News. Or if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News, or simply hashtag FBC News. That's FBC News for tonight. Good evening.
Gold FM is #1 here in Sigatoka.
Gold FM is our favorite radio station here in Lautoka.
Gold FM is #1 in Nel.
I love listening to Gold FM in Ba.
We love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits here in Suva.
Hear about Batu Cola, you immediately think of gold. I'm Josephine Sade and I love hearing Gold FM.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.